Hi everybody, today we're talking about value, and the way we're showcasing that value or talking about it, learning and experiencing value is by doing, and we're making a landscape. So I have an Alps town with mountains. These are Alps. These are little shacks or huts, and these are plains of concrete or the mountain or whatever in the landscape, and then the sky is crosshatched. So we're using different values and different lines. So I have a gray, and then I have black, and then I have white. That gray is maybe a little darker than this, so we'll work with 4 values, 3 to 4 values on this. And I went ahead and connected this to another landscape to make it a diptych. This means it's 2 parts or 2 paintings. And I have wavy lines. I have dashed diagonal lines, which are straight. I have diagonal lines, which are almost dots, going the other way. So just by using these lines at different angles, it makes the viewer look different ways, and it makes your picture look different. This mountain is different than these mountains. This is in front of. This is before these mountains. This water is very active and darkest, and it's lowest, and it's closest to us in the picture. This is the most concentration of black here. So this fence grabs the viewer's attention and then leads diagonally up into the picture and goes whichever ways your eyes would go. It will notice this rhythm. It will notice this difference. That will all be fun to look at, from this to this, and then you have to go, well, what's going on in this picture? And there's a bit of a glare in the sun coming into this kitchen, so we're seeing that too. But I'm going to start out with a value scale. So I'm going to show you the difference in those 4 tones from black all the way to white. And there's one gray, and then there's one other gray. So it goes lightest to darkest, white, gray, medium gray, then to black. So let me show you that, and then we'll get back to this. Now, if you make a value scale, you can just draw boxes. So draw a square, another square, another square, another square. I've made value scales that were 10 different tones of gray. And that gets really tricky to really separate that. You could do it with a color also, but we're doing it with black today. So our first box is white. Leave it that way. Second box is lightest gray we can have. So I only picked up a little bit. Next box, more gray. Well, that's almost too black, right? Because that is black. But let's make sure. Here's how to fix that. And then I have to make sure that this is darker. Go over that. Do you see that difference? Let's zoom in. There we go. Make sure that this is opaque and not see-through. Do you see the difference between this gray and this black? Do you see the difference between this light gray and this dark gray? Okay, let's compare. I love to compare and contrast here. I have this line that was in my water. That's black. I have this line that was on my first mountain. It's close to that gray. It's close to that gray. You decide where it is in the space. So we have a 4-point value scale from white to black. Hopefully you can make that. Now on with our assignment. We're starting with a really simple drawing, and here it is. So I have round shapes. I have triangles. I have squares. I have straight lines, diagonal lines of different types, and then I have wavy lines, and then even zigzags at the bottom. Let's do this from scratch. I have both. They look kind of neat together, but let's separate, move our placemat into place so that I don't get anything on the table. I have both references here, but I'm looking at this. So I'm picking up black and I'm drawing this. Now you can draw this with a crayon if you want to, and that's fine. One line, two lines, three lines. Now, it may not be black. It may kind of disappear, and that's okay. Now, we are going to put those diagonal lines, which turn into triangles. I'm fitting them in between the mountains. Now, this is my third time of doing this assignment. I drew it out of my head just for a way to show value. I was using my imagination to come up with an idea, and I believe I did. So there are my triangles. Okay, let me scooch in on this just a bit and move this up out of the way and come forward. There we're seeing from the top to the bottom. Now I need squares. I'm going to charge my brush back up with more paint. Zoom, zoom. I'm drawing these squares. They are different sizes. I'm not particular. I'm not hung up on the size of them. Now, in this, I have diagonal lines and one diagonal line this way. So, loading up my brush again. And this did have a straight line here. And that kind of cleaned that up. And then a line this way. And then a line this way. And I do want these to be black. So I have to go over that. And it's a good thing I have this here so I don't get the paint on my table. Yay, that's a win. And there. Now, here there was a separation. And I can change that. And it can be different if I made this, if I left this colored in, or if I stopped it, that would change the picture. I'm going dark black. I've got to load up again and go dark black. And then that reads as water, and it kind of crosses everything else out because I went over that line. Maybe you can see it in because you know it's there. And now I'm getting back to where I was. I've completed this. Now I'm going to the next part, the shading in the lines. So I know my sky is hatched. You'll use the tip of your brush to pull these lines and try to be steady. And you're going to use the tip of the brush. Hopefully not too much water. Blot it a little bit out. And so I need just paint. I'm going to use the very tip of the brush, very tip. And go quickly. If you go slow, it might wiggle more. But just go straight across. And don't get any on the table or where you're working. You know, you should be in a good working place to do this. Your own art studio. You're the place that you're supposed to be doing this. So this is a bigger pattern than in my original, but I'm okay with it. I'm seeing what happens. Little differences are nice. I don't want to touch the mountain. Okay, I'm going to leave that and move on. See, my pattern is bigger in this new one, smaller in this one. And then I have dash dots. It's like blop, 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 just in a line. And so I'm talking about the part on the mountain that does not get hit by sun this time of day. just kind of smashing the brush into it. So give it that mark. And because this is an old brush, it's kind of leaving a tail like two footprints dragging, because the brush is kind of haggled. It's kind of old. That's okay. I could trim it, but I'm leaving it. It's working fine for me. I think I want this to go up a little bit more. I'm adjusting, I'm revising. Now, looking at this, I know I need to go that darkest gray, but not black. So that's every other one to create some difference into here. It's almost black. Clean that off and pull that. Hopefully it's not too wet. Mine looks really wet right there. I'm going to have to be careful. Remember how much water you've used, not to puddle. I don't want it to drip and run down. If my table is at all slanted, that would happen. So I have white, gray, white, gray, white, gray, white. So that's that. Now, just a little bit and go side, side. Now, you could alternate this like we did with the houses. So under this white one, I'm actually pulling some of that out. And then I'm skipping the white one. And since that's not dry yet, it kind of bled in. Now I could do that also. And that's kind of neat. I also did dashes in the first one. And so that looks different too. Now, I can start with some of these details. I did have thin lines that went this way on the roofs, 1, 2, 3, got a rhythm. And then I went down with these. Remember, it's in every other pattern, A, B, A, B. And then this goes horizontal. So we're getting to use our vertical and horizontal lines too. So that's pretty much what we've got. I think I've got every piece in. I could put the fence down here if I wanted to, but this is sort of complete. Let me place these together and see what we have. We had one picture. This was the original. And then we created another one. This was kind of a spin-off. And then so I'm going to put these together in a triptych. So the triptych is 3 pieces that join together. There are some famous triptychs out there. One of my favorites is several hundred years ago, and it's about a garden, and it's kind of spooky. But look at this triptych I've created. The differences, the similarities. These are mountains, sky, a village, a path, a plane, a walkway. Not a plane like in the sky, but I mean a flat piece of land. So we're enjoying all those directional lines, how they come together. We've used diagonals, we've used verticals, horizontals, rounded lines, even zigzag lines, but we've used our shapes in there, and we've also used 4 different values from white all the way to black, light gray, dark gray, and then black. If you use these values in your drawings, in your paintings, your drawings and paintings will look more and more real as you practice these. And we're coming up to the assignment where we're making a still life also. So that will be handy to have, to use your values in your drawings and paintings. They become more lifelike, more realistic. I hope you've enjoyed this assignment as we're working on value and line today. Thanks, everybody.